This episode of the Primal Scream podcast is brought to you by It Works independent distributor Kathy Sculla. Have you tried that crazy wrap thing? It tightens, tones, and firms any area from the neck down. It Works also provides a wide variety of premium supplements, along with a full skincare line. I personally use their multivitamins and greens, and if you're interested in learning more about It Works products or the business opportunity, call or text Kathy at 319-360-2009 or go to her website, kathysculla.myitworks.com. That's CATHYSKALA.myitworks.com.
Wake up. It's time for Primal Scream.
Welcome back to the Primal Scream. I'm Matt.
I am Todd.
And today we're here with Steve Shriver.
You're not related to any of the Shrivers, are you?
Apparently our families split back during the Civil War time, so we are somewhere connected way back in the day.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
Yeah,
But you don't call up
no,
Arnold.
Right,
Maria Shriver. They're not married anymore, so it doesn't really matter.
Right. Maria Shriver and I have exchanged a couple letters.
You have?
Oh, that's
she
kind of
calls
neat.
me her long lost brother. So
Well, she's a pretty incredible person.
she is. That's why I wanted to make sure she knew
connected
that I was on the map.
That's awesome. You haven't made an impact big enough until you get Maria Shriver.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, Steve Shriver is the CEO, president, and co-founder of Ecolips,
That's right.
right? Based here in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, down at the Cherry Building.
Which we love.
Yep.
Yeah, there's so many neat artists and small businesses in the Cherry Building. Here's the one downside. I don't like to be a downer.
Sounds like you might be a downer.
Here's the one downside. The Cherry Building doesn't have a really awesome entrance. You know what I mean?
Ooh, yeah.
Like it's really hard. If you were to drive by the building, you see the sign,
It's real subtle.
It's settled.
but you really need to kind of know where to go into it at.
It's VIPs only.
There you go.
It's like that restaurant in New York that doesn't have a sign, and you have to.
That's right.
know?
Yeah, if you're a part of the in club, then you know
Yeah.
to knock on that one door.
In the alleyway
Right.
with the signal light. You have the one-word code.
The best way to get into the Cherry Building is on the south side, correct? On the side where
I wouldn't call that the best way.
That's not the best way?
The north side that has
north
the
side?
awning on the front, and yeah.
We've never gone in that way. We've only
we've
gone
never
through
gone in
NewBo
that way.
Market and then come over this way.
Okay.
because there's
But there's still not a great entrance either way.
Right.
You're right.
Right.
It should be better because you walk in and you think it's an old
because
grungy building.
that's a nugget of creativity and
Yep.
what I would mostly associate with maybe an Iowa City type of feel.
Yeah.
So if you're looking for that Iowa City type of feel, go down to the Cherry Building, but that's where you're based out of, right?
And you forgot to mention that we're in New Bohemia
New
as well.
Bohemia.
Oh, that's right.
So it's Cedar Rapids, Iowa, New Bohemia, Cherry Building.
It's all those things.
Yeah.
It's all connected.
Yeah. But New Bohemia was founded. It's this neighborhood of artists and derelicts and entrepreneurs, and that was founded basically in the Cherry Building back in the late 1990s. There were a group of us that were in that building, and Rich Dana actually just got back from seeing Richard Florida speak on gentrification, and he was like, and he moved here from New York, and he saw this happening everywhere, and this used to be a neighborhood where people were scared to
Right,
go,
yeah.
And he said, in New York, people are taking neighborhoods like this and making them into cool artsy districts, and we formed this group and we named it New Bohemia. And
Are you still on the board?
No.
Okay.
It's been through a lot of iterations of people and drama and
Sure.
but I'm definitely getting more involved now that things are really taking off in this neighborhood, and I want to preserve that bohemian aspect of the business or of the neighborhood.
For sure. And have you guys always been in the Cherry Building? You said you were down here. What did you have down here business-wise before?
So
back in the day?
1997, we started Raining Rose, which was the first company that my wife and I started. We started in our house, and it was we were making lip balm as well, and filling it with turkey basters, little lip balm sticks with turkey basters in our basement, one at a time, and then we got to the point where we needed to hire some people and get a space, and at the time, the Cherry Building it had a couple renters, but it was mainly just storage for big offices downtown. They'd store their office furniture there, so we could afford a little room to make our balm in, and we cleaned it up, and so that was 1997.
Okay.
And then that business, we sold it in 2003 to start Ecolips, and Ecolips was then started in that building as well.
So
I've been going to
Ecolips
that
started
building.
in 2003.
Correct.
Okay. Because we should say that I know Jeff Kleinik, who's worked for Steve for quite a while, and as long as I've known Jeff, he's been with Ecolips, I think. So
Or
it's at
Raining
least
Rose.
Or
back
Raining.
in the day.
Was
so
it?
he's been Jeff. It was a funny story, and we've got a lot of them like this.
Awesome.
He's this dreadlock hippie kid that came in, needed to make. He was on the road heading either to Colorado or from Colorado, and he came in looking to make a few bucks before he got back in his car to hit the road, and we needed somebody to help out in shipping because at that time we were busy. We only had a few employees, and Jeff came in and started shipping packages for us, and he just never left. So this was
and Jeff's brother is Eric Kleinik, who owns Sasaki Clothing.
Yeah.
And Eric's been on our podcast.
Oh, cool.
So it was kind of a good correlation between those two. So it was nice seeing him for sure.
So you got rid of Raining Rose, and I like the reason why you had that name named after your kids.
Yep.
Right?
So my two oldest daughters are Hadley Rose and Lindsay Rain, and we came up with Raining Rose with the help of some of our employees. We were originally called Virgin Body Care. It was a little bit risque. We used virgin olive oil in all of our products, and then we got a letter from Richard Branson's people because he apparently had the trademark for virgin in the skincare category.
Oh.
So we got a threatening letter, even though we were just this little tiny non-threatening blip of a company. But so we came up with Raining Rose after that, and it was a blessing because before that I'd call companies and say, hey, this is Steve from Virgin Body Care, and immediately I'd get laughed at. Just I'd go into try to have a sales meeting, and people would go, Virgin, do you have to be a virgin to work there? And all these stupid
terrible jokes.
Just like, no, it's about the oil, man. But so Raining Rose was much more pleasant,
Right.
Yeah.
And so what was it? And you don't have to answer this if it was a negative reason.
No.
Was there a reason why you sold that company and then went with Ecolips?
Yeah. For one, as a sort of a natural-born entrepreneur, I always had the goal of starting something and selling it for more than $1 million. Like that was a goal that I had.
Right.
And we started Raining Rose on $5,000 that my wife had left over from her college. It was her life savings, and I convinced her that if we bought some, we weren't even married yet, and I convinced her, like, if we buy some labels and get some artwork done and put these things in a sellable container, that'll be the best thing you could do with that $5,000. And so, but 6 years later, sold the company for 7 figures at age 30. So that was like an entrepreneurial goal I had. The other thing was that it was my first bigger project that it worked, but I was really good at starting things, but at that point it really needed to be handed off to somebody. It was growing like crazy, and I didn't have the operational background to do the company justice, nor did I have the financial acumen to actually to manage the books. But we weren't profitable enough for me to hire the right people. So I think there's a right time to sell companies.
Sure.
And there's not just one right time, but this was one of the times where it was a great time to buy it for the buyer. They grew it into this massive company that now employs a couple hundred people, and it was a great time for us to sell it because it had some value.
And so Ecolips was underneath that vein of Raining Rose then? Is that how it worked?
Well, yeah, we started, so Raining Rose was and still is a contract manufacturer, contract packager of lip balm and other products.
Okay.
We were making everything and skincare products, and we were putting other people's labels on them. And so through that process, we were helping other companies build their brand. And I have a natural marketing instinct. I mean, I love marketing,
Okay.
And so I always thought that whatever my customers were doing, I thought we could do it a little bit better. They're not taking the lip balm category seriously enough. And so through that, through the growth of Raining Rose, I've always had in the back of my head that, that it would be fun to build a brand. I had our top sales rep at Raining Rose. His name's Jim King, still one of my best friends. He's out in California. He said, "Let's do it. Let's come up with a brand and take it to the natural products industry." Because at that time, nobody had done. There was no company solely focused on lip balm in the natural products industry. There were a lot of them, Burt's Bees, but they had, and other companies that had 200 products and one of them lip balm. But nobody was really saying, all we do is lip balm and we do it better because that's all we do.
Sure.
And nobody had an organic lip balm. So we came up with the Ecolips concept, and around that same time sold Raining Rose. And so the only exclusion in my non-compete, because everybody asks, how could you sell a lip balm company and start a lip balm company at the same time?
Oh, sure.
I was actually just thinking that.
I wasn't, so I'm not in marketing.
Is that we had this thing baking, and it wasn't a competition. We weren't in competition with the company I sold, because the company I sold manufactured lip balm for other brands. We were just another brand, not a contract filler. However, when day one, when my non-compete went up, it was after 5 years, we started offering private label and contract manufacturing, because it's a pretty easy sale and we're pretty good at it. So
that's all you do.
Yeah. So we do compete a little bit now, but we're a tiny boutique manufacturer of higher end, only fair trade, only organic lip balm, and they're a big manufacturer of a lot of different things.
Yeah, but and your lip balm isn't like a simple lip balm. Like, you can get personalized.
That's right.
Lip balm. You can pick your own ingredients that go together.
That's right.
And how many different I saw on your website that you had a number of how many different variations you could possibly put together.
I think it's actually between lip balm ingredients, cap colors, containers. I think it actually is about 4 billion combinations. 4 billion. But I think we held back on that number. I'm not sure what we put on our website because we didn't want to scare people.
Yeah. Under promise, over deliver.
A huge number, thinking, holy cow! Now, how did you? Are you the guinea pig for the lip balm? I mean, how do you guys go through and find ingredients? And like, there's an ingredient from Nimbia.
Yeah, good, nice job. Did your homework?
Okay. Thank you. But
so
I mean,
Zambia,
how do you?
And that is it's an ingredient called mangango oil.
Okay.
And it comes from the Kung Bush tribe in the in Zambia, Africa.
Great tongue click.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So
it's got it down. Have you gone there?
I have not. I've been to Africa, a couple different parts of Africa, but haven't been there. And that was I took a 4-year hiatus and went to about 24. I worked for Frontier Natural Products, running an essential oil division called Oricacia, and I had a team of people that were buyers and quality assurance people that were flying around the world, looking at meeting growers, looking at their processes, ensuring the purity in essential oils in the supply chain. And so it was a great experience. And through that experience, I built relationships with people around the world that were either middlemen or direct with growers. And so I'm leveraging that at Ecolips now.
Okay, and did when you were doing that, was that before Raining Rose or during or
that
before?
That would have been after I sold Raining Rose. I've gotten to this. I go in 5 or 6 year bursts where I can dig in pretty deep for a few years, and then I need to take a little break. So in 2008, I guess I was putting the right energy out there, and I got a few different job offers of people that wanted my expertise, my entrepreneurial spirit in their companies. And it was around the time where I was also considering selling Ecolips. I thought that was an option. So 2008 was going through some, just some life.
There was a lot of things that were happening in 2008
in
the area.
That's right.
The flooding, plus
it was a stressful
the
year.
market itself
Yep.
with the crash. So.
Yeah, it was a tough time. So I took a break from Ecolips, and I promoted our vice president of sales, Mark Patterson, to be CEO, and I took a job with Frontier.
And that's Frontier Herbs?
Frontier,
Is that the same
they're
one?
called Frontier Natural Products. It's Frontier Herbs used to be the name.
I used to go on tours of their factory and stuff like that. It's a pretty cool place.
It's amazing. And so there was another entrepreneurial goal I had, was to be an absentee owner of my company. So I wanted to see if my company would still survive and possibly thrive with me not being there. And it worked. It was 4 of the most profitable years that we had at Ecolips were the ones that I was not there.
I mean, that's your goal. It's your goal, and you feel good that, hey, I reached my goal.
Right.
But does it kind of a little bit of a gut check that, oh wait, they did better when I was gone?
I would totally think though that, I mean, if you've done things correctly, it's running in a way that if you're whether you're there or not, it's doing what it's supposed to be doing.
It's beautiful.
Yeah,
I
mean, a good thing.
Yeah, I will say this, that it was the lowest growth years that we had as well. So it was sort of that equation where, you know, the more you grow, the less money you make. It takes money to grow. And so and the goal when I was gone, I told Mark, I'm like, we agreed, don't worry about growing, just make it profitable. And he did. And so had a great experience at Frontier. I was on the management team of a $100 million company, running a 25-year-old brand, and it was a great sort of more corporate experience, even though it's a co-op. It's still a big company, in my opinion. And then tragically, Mark, on August 12th, 2011, passed away of an aortic aneurysm. He had just exploded, fell to the ground, and
is he here at work with you guys?
No, he was a Saturday, and I had been texting him that morning, and you know, just we were actually planning a company event that we're going to rent this place in northeast Iowa. No, Galena. We're going to rent a place in Galena, take all of our employees, big family outings, and we're texting back and forth, and then he didn't text me back. It was weird.
Oh.
Yeah, and got a call a few hours later that they found him on his living room dead. So
sorry to hear that. That must be pretty tough when you put somebody in charge that you're obviously friends with on top of it. So it's business and friendship and together.
Yep,
that'd be tough.
So, but it immediately, no question, I came back to Ecolips. It was actually, in the strangest way, the best thing that happened to me personally. Mark and I had been strategizing on how to get me back in Ecolips. I was nearing the end of my time at Frontier, and you know, I said, well, maybe, you know, within a year we can work me back in, and so we were planning for that. And you know, he gave me that gift of my job back, which was sacred. I mean, I love Ecolips. I love the people there, and now we work really hard to, you know, we've got a huge poster of Mark up in the conference room, so he's always in on all of our meetings now.
That's awesome. And I think I remember Jeff posting something about a bike ride you did in honor of him too, right?
We're actually planning. It's the first. We've done a few fundraising events for his family. He had 3 kids under the age of 5 when he passed away, or maybe under the age of 3 actually. And we are doing a bike ride August. Oh, geez, it's coming up. August 11th or 19th or something like that. For another fundraiser.
Oh,
so,
awesome.
Yeah, fun-filled day. It'll be a lot of, and he liked to drink beer.
Good for him.
So we did
I really like him. I don't even know him.
So we did Lyon Bridge Brewery actually did a special beer in his honor, and it's brewing right now.
Oh, that's
that's awesome.
So
I just talked with Quinn the other day because we're going to do a podcast with him in his brewery.
He's such a great guy.
He's a really neat guy. Yeah. And it was funny to walk in because he's very nondescript. I walked in to get my growler filled, and I said, are you the owner, or is the guy behind the heels? No, the guy over there in the boots and the tank top, and he's just filthy because he'd been cleaning out all his bin. I was like, that's the kind of guy you want to interview.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
He makes every batch of beer. I mean, and that's his goal. I mean, he wants to be
He's involved in the process every single time.
His mom and dad run the kitchen kind of area and help out quite a bit. It's pretty neat.
Yeah, good stuff. And for us to have that in Cedar Rapids is pretty awesome.
It's the best.
Kind of shifting gears. We talked about your business and your entrepreneurial skills, but when you look at business and you look at the different choices that you have to make, I liked seeing that you you make decisions on like this two kind of category view. It's either life-threatening or it's just uncomfortable.
Right.
So, and you you pull that from your rock climbing.
Yep.
Right. So when did you start rock climbing?
Back in, I guess, the early 90s, I worked at a store in Iowa City called Active Endeavors, and we sold outdoor gear, and through, it was sort of part of the culture was that we'd go rock climbing as employees would go climbing. And so started just climbing around Iowa, and then eventually made my way to Colorado, and then eventually up into Canada, and really got into mountaineering more than rock climbing, although I've done some amazing rock climbs like Half Dome out in Yosemite. And so through that process, part of it is I learned about goal setting. I mean, when you have to commit to a mountain that's going to take you a week to climb, there's a process of getting ready for it and then working your way through it, persevering through the problems, getting knocked back by some bad weather, and then continuing on. But there's also this, there's a real life-threatening aspect of it, and it helped me put into perspective that, geez, I've got these are the business risks anywhere close to the life risks that I've taken, and the answer is no. So the more that I put myself physically on the line, whether it's through hard workouts or through big mountaineering expeditions down in Argentina and Chile and in South America, the less risky and the less hard my day-to-day operations, my day-to-day desk job, really felt. So it was all a matter of like shifting my perspective on it and recalibrating my mind to be like, this isn't, if my business fails, nobody's going to die. If I go bankrupt, nobody's going to die. I don't want that to happen. It never has. But it just makes it seem simpler to make decisions that are financial risk versus life risks.
Right.
Well, it's one thing being relative over another. That's a really good. But I think you can apply that to your daily life.
Yeah.
I had a horrible, awful day. Compared to what?
Was it really? Yeah.
Really how bad was it? So
we got stuck in Argentina. Back in 2006, we were on an expedition, and we're up at our base camp. Actually, Camp 1 had probably 19,000 feet, and I'm not sure about that number, but we're up high, camping in the snow on a big mountain called Mercedario. Mercedario is the mountain that the movie Alive was about. Was it a Brazilian soccer team or a rugby team crashed, and they ended up eating each other to survive. So this is one of the most remote places in the world. Only about, at the time we went there, only about 10 people a year would get to the spot that we're at, and so we're going to climb this mountain. All right, and we're up there, we're doing our thing, and unbeknownst to us, there's a high altitude moraine dam that was holding a lake of tens of thousands of gallons of water had washed away all the villages and the road that we came in on. And this is the middle of the Andes mountain range.
Right, you're up there.
So we're up there.
And underneath all your...
Yeah, we're
just got washed out.
But we're up climbing, and we see these helicopters flying over and have really that's a little bit odd. And these helicopters are like rescuing people from all the, we had no idea. And so we're climbing, and I actually got a case of altitude sickness, and so I was going to go down into the village so I walked 7 miles down by myself, and just to get out of the thin air, and rejuvenate myself, and then possibly head back up. And I get down there, and it's just mass destruction. There was an 80-foot wall of water that wiped out everything. So I just basically get down to the edge of where the road was, and it's raging river. And before that, there was a mining community, and there were people, and and it was the most surreal situation. So still, my team is up climbing, continuing on their climb, and having no idea that this massive tragedy happened down below.
Whoa.
So we're like,
And you still have to turn around and kind of go back up?
yeah.
Or?
So, and I had planned on there being food when I got down to the base, because there was somebody that was baking bread and stuff, and I got down there and I'm like, okay, I'm alone. There's nobody here. My team's up there. I have no food. So, and I was way too tired by that time to make my way back up, and it was starting to get dark. So I built a little rock enclosure inside a little cave, and kind of just stayed. Throughout the night I had random animals poking, like trying to get at me, because there were hungry dogs that were halfway domesticated, and there were other animals. You're in the wild, and so
Sure.
I'm like literally in this little enclosure, and I'm hitting these animals with ski poles throughout the night that are trying to knock down
So you
the
didn't
rocks.
sleep very well.
You didn't get any sleep then.
It doesn't matter what kind of inflatable mattress you got. You're not sleeping very well.
Yeah, there was no mattress. So the next day I finally got back up, and I'll make a long story short, I ended up hooking up with my team, and they're like, well, we'll just go down and then we'll start hiking out. And I'm like, no, there's no hiking out. We're not going down that way. We had a satellite phone with a little bit of battery power left, and we started communicating with the outside world, and they said, all right, because Bush was in Buenos Aires a week ago and he caused riots, you guys are 6 Americans on a holiday, and the government just said you're on your own. You got to do a they rescued 88 people from around the area that we were in. That's what the helicopters were doing, but we were just 6 Americans on a holiday, so you're on your own. Thank you, President Bush.
Holy cow.
So then we went through the whole process of, okay, we have this much food.
Did you start to feel like now, oh my God, we're almost in that, we're
Yeah.
kind of in that scenario of a
For a
life
second-
where we have to start
For a second, I thought
prioritizing.
we had to sit down and
our
say who we're going to
supplies.
eat first. Yeah.
Yeah. And there was one guy in the group that was looking real tasty, but other than that, it would have been like gnarly, a grizzly old mountaineer.
Everybody would have turned slowly to Todd and I.
Right.
Oh, they look kind of soft and full of
Right.
meat.
Yeah, for
There
sure.
was, well, we ended up, there was a wild horse, and Chuck Huss was with us, and he had worked in a butcher shop when he was a kid, so we actually went through that. We said, all right, what do we got for knives? And we were going to, we got to the point where we were going to chop up this horse, and we were there basically a week longer than we had food for, and we ended up the last 5 or 6 days we existed on about 100 to 150 calories a day each. So we got pretty emaciated. One of our guys was hallucinating, and we finally were quote unquote rescued. Not like we thought. We were like, we're Americans. There'd be a big helicopter come down with some ladders, and no, it was a pretty treacherous hike over the mountains with a couple weekend warrior gendarmes or National Guard guys, who we heard that they had food and medicine, and through the sat phone it was like, they're going to bring food and medicine, and they had a bottle of wine, a can of Spam, and a loaf of bread, and it was like,
and the alcohol's the medicine.
Right. And nothing like taking a swig of wine after being dehydrated and
You can probably feel it hit every cell in your body.
Right. So anyway, that was a whole level of existence and experience that
once you go through something like that, everything kind of slows down and is not so critical. Which might be one of the reasons why you also put in your on your website, which is something I really dug, which was you have your One World
Lip
Balm.
Yep.
And it's all organic. There's renewable resources that went into making it, like the wind turbine type of energy, and you have the first lip balm container that's totally biodegradable.
That's right.
You had put in there, which I thought was really ballsy. I really don't see this very often, which is an owner of a company going, you know what? I don't care if it doesn't sell. But I want
Where'd you
to
read that? Where,
it was either in
a press release or something.
A press release,
Yeah.
where you had said if it I don't care if it even doesn't sell, I'm going to start pushing that into my line because it's the right thing to do, and through bringing people into an organic lip balm, I'm hoping
transition,
almost like a herder to bring people into more of an organic lifestyle. When I think about lip balm, I don't really think about all that stuff.
Right.
Which is
It's very unique. We've always looked at lip balm as a gateway product. Like it's a gateway organic product. So when we came out with the first organic lip balm, it was in 2003 when there weren't, you couldn't buy organic milk, organic products at our local grocery stores, at the Hy-Vees and whatnot. And so there were a small little selection, and it was overpriced. Is it worth it? I'm not sure. There wasn't a lot of awareness, but this little this little container of lip balm, we thought, if we could get people to buy that and have a good experience with it, then maybe they'll buy the organic milk and start really changing. We wanted to change consumer behavior, and it was powerful. And I think we played a big part in the movement of the organic industry by just getting our organic lip balm out there. And so, the paper tube, it's the biggest thing that we've ever done in terms of expense and research and development, and it's the biggest risk that we've taken, and it's hurt us. It's been a painful year because people aren't grabbing it up like crazy. And the container's not functioning as great as we had hoped, and so people are really having to recalibrate how they use their lip balm. For instance, with plastic, for one, it's cheap, and for two, it's the caps snap on and off, and you got a little mechanism in there. And this is a pretty basic push-up tube, and because it's paper, the tolerances are not as tight as plastic, and so sometimes the caps fall off. So if it's in your purse, the cap might fall off. Well, you have to be a little more gentle with this, just like we have to be more gentle with the earth. But people have this expectation of lip balm that they should be just throw it in a bag, throw it in, and so we are getting a lot of complaints right now about it. And we're just hoping that it survives, and we are going to push through and launch more products with it. But we really need consumers to ride the wave with us, because it wasn't easy to make this. It wasn't easy to manufacture it, and it's not as easy to use it as it is a regular lip balm container. So I hope it works.
Well, if you go along the same vein of, I don't buy big 2-gallon buckets of milk anymore. I buy smaller organic cartons or almond milk or something different like that. So, I had to make an adjustment to make sure I made a better choice for myself. So it doesn't seem like too big of a stretch. I think getting people to buy in is one thing, I guess, but I think that people now are so focused on organic and trying to get to a little bit cleaner living. Because in my head, I was like, when I saw the containers in your shop the other day, I said, that's a no-brainer. That makes complete sense to me. Because all I can see is piles and piles of little petroleum-based plastic tubes that we could all have in our basement if we kept, what I'm saying? We could just, if we had a big bucket full of them.
And it's hard for me to put out this, this pure product that, we work really hard to get these pure ingredients that are fair trade, organic from around the world, and then we're offsetting everything with wind power that we do, and then we put it in a plastic container that's only going to get used once. And the fact about these plastic containers, most plastic containers could be reusable. We could be reusing every bottle, but we just don't. We're this disposable society. And so it's really painful to have the mass of the package be about equal to the mass of the product inside. But again, that's just where our market's at, and at least we're putting good stuff inside the container, and now at least we're transitioning out of plastic into paper, and we just hope that consumers transition with us.
It kind of seems like there's two avenues here. One, where your organic lip balm is ushering people towards a more organic lifestyle, and then two, the other aspect is we've become so non-mindful. We're not mindful of or careful, or we just take for granted, I'll just get another one, toss it away, and we've lost that mindfulness. And it's almost like there needs to be a campaign to bring people back to being mindful, not just a campaign for organic and coming back to more natural way of being, but more of a respectful, honorable, mindful way of living as human beings.
Yeah, that's deep. You're
So,
right.
Yeah. So how do you how do you marry those
you
two
do
ideas
it by having
together?
the right contents inside.
Yeah.
You may have not the best delivery system yet because the best thing hasn't been invented, but you're trying.
Right. But we look at it like we are. I mean, again, like the power of this little lip balm stick. I really look at it like it's a lifestyle brand. Like, just get into this whole organic lifestyle, and every little thing that you can do will make you more mindful, make you more aware. Little side note, and some of my travels around the world, the first time I saw it was in Nepal in 2000, and I went over there to the base camp of Mount Everest, and it was an amazing experience. But we saw packaged goods hitting these high altitude villages for the first time. And if you think about this, for thousands of years, we've just been, you peel a banana and you just throw the banana peel down, and it actually becomes nutrients for the soil. And you'd eat an apple to the core, toss it, whatever, a mango, you'd eat around the seed, you toss the seed, it would actually grow and be something bountiful. And there are these communities around the world that are just now even getting packaged goods. And so even these people that have the deepest sense of respect for nature, because their livelihood completely depends on it, because their food is every morning getting up, they're pulling their fruit off trees, and they're growing their vegetables. They're starting to get packaged goods, and what they're doing with the packaged goods is exactly what you wouldn't think they do, and they're just tossing it and littering. They don't have food disposal. They don't really realize that's going to sit there for 1,000 years. That this plastic wrap is going to sit there for 1,000 years. So, and then we are. So then you saw. And then I've seen regions where they just figured out that they need garbage cans and garbage pickup, and then we're on the whole other end of the spectrum where we're so naive to the process that it's just like, toss it and forget it. We do toss it in garbage cans most of the time, but then it just goes away and somebody else has to deal with it. Well, I think it's making its way in various forms that we are more aware. I mean, right out the door here, we see our big landfill that we capped, in 2008 after the flood, and or actually before that, we capped it, and then they had to be reopened for the flood, and it's 12 feet higher now because we couldn't ship that stuff off anywhere. And so I think, for whatever it's worth, we're gonna have to deal with all these. All these things at some point. All the environmental, all the torment on the environment that we've put out there. We're going to have to deal with it.
I was thinking earlier that it's a unique perspective for an entrepreneur and a business owner to kind of put away the idea of not being so centered on the bottom line and the money we're making, but making sure that the product is not affecting the environment. Do you feel you've approached business that way because you have been involved in the environment and the travels you've done and things like that?
Definitely having just a bigger respect for the entire globe. On that note, we're a B corporation, which is a benefit corporation, and it's a third-party designation that we have because it's not a legal entity in the state of Iowa, but it is. I think there's about 21 states now that it is a legal corporate designation. But what it's a measurement tool for us that gives us a triple bottom line to focus on. So we focus on basically people, planet, and profits. And so within the people, it's all shareholders involved. It's everybody from our customers to our employees to our vendors to the people to the growers of the raw materials that we use, and everybody in between. And profit, it has to be sustainable. The company has to be sustainable for us to make a difference. And so by focusing on the people, planet, and profits, it really and in having a third party measure us on a yearly basis, it helps us keep everything in check.
Awesome.
How much with your traveling and your love of mountaineering and going all around the world, how much do you expose your kids to that? Do they go with you around the world? Are they seeing all these different types of cultures?
Yeah.
Because I've traveled a little bit, not very much, but I've gotten out of the U.S. And if you've never gone out, some people have never left Cedar Rapids. Some people have never left Iowa or the United States. To be able to go someplace like the Sinai Desert or Haiti and really see people suffer and be creative with what little they do have. That's an amazing experience that you can give your kids. Do they travel around with you?
So that's been, the last couple of years I've been doing fewer me trips, and fewer mountaineering trips and climbing trips and more family experiences, because I have that now I have that urge to share those experiences with the kids. And so we've taken them in the last 18 months. We've gone to El Salvador, Colombia, and Dominica, which is a little island, not Dominican Republic, but Dominica is a little island in the West Indies, and they're all very third world. And that's my main thing, is that I really want them to experience the third world and see how people live for a number of reasons. To see the innovation that is created there, but also to see in the connectedness to the earth, but also to have an appreciation for what we have here in the first world. And it's been a lot of highs and lows, and we've been to some dangerous places, and our family thinks we're nuts, by like, oh my God, Colombia, it's where all the, you're gonna get mugged or kidnapped or shot or whatever. And it's like, man, that could happen to me, and on 19th Ave, 19th Street.
Yeah, you're not kidding.
So,
right.
And then it's also
that doesn't dissuade you from doing that, from going on those types of adventures.
You just have to be savvy and smart, and a smart traveler. We just have try to do our research about where we're staying, what we're doing at night, where we're going, and just making sure that we're not. I don't want to put my family in danger.
Sure.
Yeah. Don't be a dumb tourist.
Well, right. But you've been doing this for years. If somebody were to be listening to this podcast or watching it, how is there a place, or what would you recommend if somebody was like, you know what? I really dig that type of lifestyle. I like that type of adventurous attitude. I would like to expose my kids to that, but I don't know how to safely do it.
Yeah. Well, before I forget, too, one of the best things that's happened to my kids has been that they've been the minority in these places. We've been to villages where we were the first white people that people saw, where people are looking around a corner at us and pointing, and like, that's like, we're these, like, what's up with these people's skin color? I've never seen that before. And so that's something that we don't feel on a regular basis. We don't know, we don't have that
and
feeling.
That was profound for your children?
Yeah, and me. I mean, to have that is crazy, As far as, advice on travel, for one, the good thing about it is once you get to these places, it's cheap. It's just about an airfare, if you buy it at the right time, it can be less expensive. You can get a $450 round trip ticket to Guatemala, but it costs you $600 to fly from here to Denver, So so in terms of expense, we've really figured out how to do it on as little money as possible. And once you're on the ground, your ground costs in a third world country are, next to nothing. So basically, don't be afraid of the expense. And then it's just like, try not to look like you have any money, wear a hat, and sunglasses, and don't be flashing wads of cash, and, and don't wear any jewelry, and keep your camera concealed, everything, just look like you're a seasoned traveler, wear earth tones, and even if you have keep some money, some spending money in your in one pocket, but keep keep your passport and any other belongings in a something you can tuck away in your underwear. Get a special belt, or a passport case that
Really keep that close under your clothing.
Yeah.
You're not taking it out for no reason.
Yep. I mean, because my worst experience is not terrible, but I had a couple $1,000s in my zippered pocket on my legs in Bangkok, Thailand, and I had $80 in my front pocket. And I'm walking down the street, literally about 15 seconds out of getting out of the cab. I paid the cabbie. Somebody obviously saw me put this small wad of cash in my front pocket, and within 20 or 30 seconds, I put my hand in my pocket, and it was gone. And it was busy streets of Bangkok, and so it was just, I got bumped into, and somebody got $80 out of my pocket. Thankfully, I had all my cash in a zippered pocket in another location. But
holy cow!
Yeah. So
it could make for a bad trip if all your stuff gets taken within seconds.
I'm gonna jump back for just a second.
Shifting gears.
No, I didn't mean that. It was a good story. I was thinking when you say things are offset by wind power and things like that, we don't. Is that from like the one at Kirkwood or
because we don't have our own wind generator. It'd be tough to put one here, and it's really it's questionable as to whether it is sustainable for a small company like us to actually put the resources forth to buy a wind turbine just for us. And so what I've found to be the most sustainable and the least carbon footprint is to have, there are wind generation companies that are putting up towers, putting up wind generators all over western Iowa. And we can buy. Right now, we're buying credits from them. So whatever our energy usage is, we're paying Alliant, for our energy, just like everybody else is. But then we're also paying the same amount to these wind power companies ultimately to feel better about using traditional electricity, but also to support all these wind generators going up. So eventually, I think it will come closer to home. We did we put in the solar panels across the street.
Okay.
Back in 2003, we applied for grants, and we could have. The original goal was we're going to have a couple solar panels. That was going to be small, and it was going to fuel our facility, just our facility. Well, Alliant Energy got involved, the DNR got involved, and what we found out was that with their involvement, we could quadruple the size of the project, but it wouldn't fuel our facility. It's going to fuel the neighborhood. So some of this power right here is coming from that solar panels are putting it into the grid, and we're using solar power right now. And it was better. It would be a better marketing story for me if we had a wind generator and a solar panel there. But I think we're doing a better service to the environment by having the project be bigger.
Okay. So you get some benefit from it, but so does everybody else.
Yeah. Okay. But it doesn't offset our electric bill at all. It's just more of a, it just goes into the grid and offsets, the amount of sustainable energy versus non-sustainable.
Now we've talked in the past about I love wind turbines, the solar energy. I love that whole renewable energy aspect that we don't seem to be tied into enough. And so Todd and I have talked about it in the past, and especially when Kirkwood put up their wind turbine, I thought, we've thought about, if we daydreamed about if we could build a neighborhood, what would the neighborhood be like? We would turn a neighborhood more into like a small town instead of just how many houses can I pack on these streets, and
you build a small community.
We'd build a small community, but we would also, I thought, it'd be great if each community could have like a wind turbine or some type of internal source. And immediately, it was either Todd or I had said, I wonder what kind of government incentives we would have to do that. And my immediate response was, we as Americans or we as people need to stop thinking of, well, how is somebody going to pay me to want to do it instead of just, I really just need to do it.
Yeah.
How can we bring enough people together to sell the idea?
Yep.
And then we're self-sufficient.
Yeah.
And we can kind of morally take it off of our list of, we're getting it from coal or we're getting it from nuclear.
Yeah, I mean, we live in a place of subsidies and write-offs and unfortunately the big petroleum and big corporations are the ones that are sort of reaping all the government benefits of subsidies, and there aren't that many tax breaks for doing stuff sustainably. So
right.
I mean, which maybe that's a good thing. Maybe it is forcing us to look at it more like what you're talking about, and to say this has to make this just makes sense for me to do this. And I know that my return on this investment is going to take 20 years, but it's the right thing to do. But I also I hope that someday we could get out of this. I mean, get out of this conundrum we're in with all the oil subsidies that are causing, I mean, even ethanol is a great example of this. Like, we're a big ethanol state, but I'll tell you what, when we were down in El Salvador, there was Iowa ethanol. There was Iowa corn being converted to ethanol and then getting shipped back to Iowa. So how sustainable is that? We think that we look at the ethanol and we're like, hey, this is a great thing for Iowa, it's a great thing, but the subsidies are making it less expensive than it really should be. We're not paying what we should be.
Right.
And then why don't we have those processing facilities in in Iowa?
Right.
And so I think there's a little bit of smoke and mirrors going on with government-run sustainability programs.
Right.
Sure, especially ethanol, when ethanol is a lot more inefficient to make than it does to make gasoline. I mean, it burns cleaner, but overall, the production of ethanol is a much dirtier process than just making gas.
It's expensive. And so is the net benefit better or worse? And I mean, I think that there are studies out there saying that it's actually worse.
Well, then there's the corn subsidies and stuff. It's changing the way we farm. We had an author on Leah Dunham, she grew up here in Iowa. Her father still is a veterinarian that goes around to the northeastern section of Iowa for the different farms. And she wrote a book called America's Two-Headed Pig. She talks in there about and then she had moved away. When she got out of college, she had moved away. Well, recently she had come back and she was driving through Iowa thinking there was such a multicultural crop existence in Iowa, but now it's like corn, soybean.
Yep.
That's it.
Yep.
Whereas when she was a kid, she talked about in her book how every field was kind of a different crop, and we were so self-sufficient. She said, now in Connecticut, Massachusetts, where she resides, it's easier to eat organic and to get fresh farm produce there than it is here in Iowa, where we have some of the best soil in America.
And that's like an hour outside Boston. It's not. It's not like out in the nowhere. So
we're killing our biodiversity. I mean, the term for that is biodiversity. There's just the diversity of life. It's becoming more and more homogeneous. We're relying more and more on single crops because it's all this capitalistic, based income in agriculture. And we've taken agriculture to a level that is so disconnected to nature and how it works that it's a very broken system. And we should be growing stuff closer to home, but it's at this point it's not financially feasible. That's why like CSAs, consumer supported agriculture, are great. A bunch of little farmers that have 6, 8, 10, 12 lots of whatever their vegetable is this week. You can join a CSA and you're going to get a bag of groceries. That's
trying to think who does it over here at NewBo Market. There's something farm.
Well, there's a farm between here and Mount Vernon.
Bass Farms.
So they do it there.
Yeah. But there's one in particular that drops off at NewBo Market every Thursday.
Ecolective.
Yeah,
is one of them. Ecolective Farm. There are quite a few of them. If you just you can Google it or ask around, and that's the answer to a lot of this. But it's really, it's a seasonal thing too. So, but if we can continue to support those small farmers, then they'll realize that they're that there is a way to make money off of.
Well, that seasonal thing, though, it adds to that disconnect. We just assume that we can have avocados all year long and tomatoes all year long, when that's really not how it used to work. We live in a pretty cold state for a majority of the year. And so you used to have to can and save things to have the things you wanted going through that part of the season. You just couldn't walk into any store and get mangoes from Central America. So I think it goes back to the thinking you're talking about, changing your mindset, saying, I mean, that's why I have 8 tomato plants. I overdid it myself this year. I went out the other day and I was like, there's no way in hell I'm going to use all these tomatoes. I'm going to find something to do with them. But I mean, that gives me the opportunity, though, to can it all or to jar it all and just see if I can use it throughout the winter time without buying a bunch of stuff from the store.
Yeah, I had mentioned to my wife, I've told you this story a couple times. I had mentioned to my wife how I really want to start canning stuff. I really want to start getting more organic stuff and canning stuff, and maybe we can have a garden in the back.
Right.
The cold, it's so mainstream to not care.
Right.
That my wife goes immediately when I said, maybe we should start doing some canning. She goes, you need to stop watching the Doomsday Preppers. Right. You need to stop watching that.
Right.
The world is not going to end. And I think to myself, to can, to be more mindful, it doesn't mean that you're prepping for doom. No. It means that you're more living in a homeostatic environment with nature. Right. This is what's seasonal, and I'm going to can
this
it.
This winter we had what 2 or 3 days this winter where you didn't go anywhere.
Right.
So if you hadn't go to the grocery store and stock up, you start running low on stuff.
Yep.
So the idea of having a jar full of something because you canned it this summer, corn or whatever it is, that's a great idea.
Well, it used to be pretty common, even into the late 70s, to have a storm cellar, a root cellar with jars of whatever you and your grandparents or your parents had canned.
Yep.
But that seems so infrequently talked about anymore. And if you do bring it up, it's more of a doomsday for everything. They talk about there is an organization that goes to every natural catastrophe, and they say within 3 days, people turn to savages because we have not. We've created such a lifestyle to where we don't hold more than 3 days worth of food
or
supply
water. Chain.
Exactly.
In our supply chain, grocery stores they only have a day and a half, couple days worth of stuff because their vendors are delivering every day. So, when we have catastrophe, we're screwed. Unless we have our own gardens or have our stuff canned. And,
do you have a big garden?
No. No. Small. This year it was just sort of I've got some tomatoes, some peppers, some. I appreciate the art of it, and I hope someday I can put more time into it. But have you tasted the tomatoes that you buy in the store? I think we've also forgotten
what they're supposed to taste
like versus the ones you're growing. And then you talk about nutrition levels. So all of this healthcare problems that we have, it's multifaceted, right? Because we're a sedentary society. We're not moving around enough. The food we eat has so little nutrition in it that our bodies are just decaying. You can taste it in the food.
I go back to that biodiversity part. It's pulling all the nutrients from the soil. So if it's not in there, then you're not going to get what you need to have. Mm-hmm. But I have 4 different kinds of. Not heritage. What's the word I'm thinking of for my tomato plants? They're heirloom. Thanks.
You're welcome.
And so they're like.
Hey,
you should put a garden in
every now and then.
His wife won't let him. But I have like these really crazy growing tomatoes. One's called the zebra, where it's red, but it's got these zigzag yellow stripes through it. So I just cannot wait to see. I'm just going to make salsa and just do crazy things with it and see what happens.
I love looking through you can get catalogs of different seeds.
Oh, yeah.
And then you start looking through there, you're like, purple carrots? I can get purple goddamn carrots? That's pretty freaking cool.
Freak your kids out.
If you were to make a meal out of really, it would almost be like a Dr. Seuss meal for your kids. How fun would that be?
Yep. Well, there's a movement of eating 5 colors every meal, like trying to get color, because you look at a lot of the meals that we prepare and it's just bland, it's just beige and bland. And so trying to just adding color to your diet is that's a move forward with health.
You know, health wise, are you vegetarian or vegan? Anything?
Vegetarian for
Sure.
about 17 years.
Okay.
I'm probably 80% vegan, so which means that I only eat a little bit of cheese, a little, maybe eggs on occasion. It was when I met my wife, she was a vegetarian, and I literally in the first 2 months that I converted, I lost about 25 pounds just from taking meat out of my diet. It felt better.
Is it almost a necessity if you're going from what I would be a total meat eater? Almost. I juice.
Okay.
I juice every
nice,
now and then.
Nice. Okay.
You eat plenty of food. Don't act like you don't just eat straight meat.
No. But
Okay.
I mean,
We
eat a pretty typical American diet.
Okay,
A lot of
that's
fast
cool.
food.
That's cool.
And every now and then I have greens. I'll do an It Works
Yep.
greens. But do you find that it would be a lot? It was easy for you because she was already a vegetarian, and she was like, "Hey, look, I already know how to make really flavorful, yummy meals like this. You're not just stuck with iceberg lettuce."
Right. Well, actually, yeah. She doesn't. She's a great prep cook, but she doesn't cook. So it was sort of the other way. I'd love to cook, and I was like, man, if I want to eat anything that tastes good, I need to learn how to cook vegetarian.
Oh, really?
With her, yeah. So, but yeah, it's we. Still, the majority of the people on the earth are vegetarian. Some of the blue zone, the healthiest people in the world, Osaka, Japan, are the people that are living to be centenarians, over 100 years old. A lot of them are vegetarian-based diet. There have been times, when I've eaten meat in the last 17 years. I can probably count them on one hand. There was a little village in Madagascar that we were visiting, and there was no electricity, no anything there, and they killed a chicken for us to feed us, and it was a gnarly little chicken that because they don't feed the chicken. The chickens just they're just wild and they feed. Yeah. And so, the Buddhist in me couldn't turn down the fact that, we're sitting under this beautiful mango tree with these beautiful people in Madagascar, and we had to, we had to partake. And, it was...
Respectful
it
kind of thing
yeah.
to do, sure.
I've eaten fish on occasion in ocean environments where, we know where it was caught and everything. And mainly, I actually love fish. But I don't want to support the industry, the raping of the oceans and
Sure.
and all that.
Because
So
we're
it's-
fishing out the oceans.
Yeah.
Or if you buy it farm, like farm tilapia is not the best thing in the world for you, even though it's more sustainable because it's not affecting the oceans and things like that. It's just,
Yeah. So I just, but in general, I love being vegetarian. And
Kids
my
are vegetarian?
Yeah, they're fine.
I mean, they just grew up eating what you're eating, so it's...
And we made it their choice. Hey, you guys can, if you want to try whatever you want to try, if you want to become a carnivore, go for it. A couple of them have tried, maybe pepperoni on a pizza or a piece of bacon because grandmas are always like, they're just gonna be malnourished if they don't eat this bacon,
yeah.
So, but yeah,
You probably keep a lot of processed foods out of your diet too, though, even though they're vegetarian.
Yeah, it's kind of like we go in phases. There'll be times where, we're really diligent and we're eating, family meals at night, and I'm cooking, coconut curry, kale, tofu dishes, and rice and beans and veggies, and we bought this place on June 1st, and we've been working a lot of hours, and it's been more like kind of chicken nuggets, the Morningstar Farm. And I normally that would be, that's as processed as we get.
Oh yeah.
But it's not fresh, and that's our unhealthy us right now, is that we're like, we're real people. Like right now we're limited on time. We're working a lot, and we're just frozen pizzas and chicken nuggets, and but we'll get back to the
Now, Ecolips isn't your only business venture. You just talked about this place that we're at right now. And where we're at right now is Brewhemia.
You'll see a picture
in the NewBo area. Yeah, and we got pictures of it coming in right now. You'll see that.
Yeah.
So how many different business ventures. You were recently awarded Entrepreneur of the Year.
Yes.
When I say that, do you kind of? Yeah, goddamn right. Entrepreneur. I'm kind of a badass.
You want to see my award? I got it.
I usually keep it on a chain around my neck. That's a really substantial. That's a really cool award.
I was really happy to receive it. Entrepreneurship has been in my blood. I didn't really ever call myself an entrepreneur until recently because it's people are asking me more and more about it. So I'm getting more comfortable calling myself an entrepreneur. It's just been such a big part of my life, so that when John Lohman called me of the Corridor Business Journal and said, this is confidential, but we're going to make this announcement that you're going to be Entrepreneur of the Year, I was ecstatic. Just, my wife, she knew something was going on the phone, and she got her camera out and started taking pictures of me because I'm almost in tears. I'm just like, oh my God, yeah. And, but yeah, I guess that's me this year. I'm Entrepreneur of the Year, and it's what I'm good at. I mean, I can run businesses. I can grow businesses. I mean, at Frontier, I took a business that was growing at 4% a year, that was established, 25-year-old company, growing 4% a year. And by the time I left, it was growing at 30-some percent.
That's a significant jump.
Yeah, for a company that big and old, And so I have a gift of being able to grow things. And understand enough of how they work and just get in the trenches enough to mold it and take it in a direction of I guess what we call success. One thing, I mean, if we're going to talk a little bit about entrepreneurialism, a book that I read back when we first started Virgin Body Care.
All right, I'm going to write it down. I'm making a note. All right.
It's a book that is called The E-Myth. It's the entrepreneurial myth, and it is about the myth of how great it is to work for yourself, and it's by Michael Gerber. And basically, what he explains in this book is the difference between working in your business and working on your business. And so most people go into business thinking they're going to work for themselves, and they end up working for themselves, and they end up working for the business. I mean, where they're just working 24/7, and it's just the harder I work, the more I'll make, etc. Rather than taking time, because we all in our businesses, we have to work in them. I mean, I don't do it much anymore, but I have to, I might have to jump in the lip balm room or label some lip balm up. Here we have days where we need shifts covered. I'll come in and cover a shift. But I distinguish the difference between the value in that and understanding it and then the value in looking at it from a little higher level and working on the processes, the job descriptions, the organizational chart, the flow of the products and the processes. And the more that you work on the business, the more that you can detach yourself from working in it. So you actually, in the beginning, you have to schedule time to work on it. It might only be a half hour a day, but then you can eventually get to the point where I got in 2008, where I took 4 years off from the business and still had that business building value in my life, but it didn't require me to be a part of it. And ultimately, if your end goal is to sell your business, the best thing that you can have is a business that doesn't rely on a single person. It just relies on the systems that have been created, and especially if that single person is the owner. Because the first question that somebody will ask if we ever sell this place is, or Ecolips, well, is this going to be able to run without Steve or without an integral person? And yes, here's why. Because we have a manual in every department, and with these systems, this is how it works. I don't need to be here, and I can show you that because I'm not doing anything right now, and both my companies are running fine.
Right. I mean, it's almost the McDonald's made that. I mean, they were kind of the founder of that type of business lifestyle, where you can open up any McDonald's store anywhere in the world, and you're going to get the damn near the exact same looking product as you would from California to New Jersey.
Yeah, and that was one of the most valuable jobs I had was working at McDonald's when I was 16 years old. It's run by it is a crazy system of timers and buzzers and beepers and systems, but you learn so much about systematization, making consistent products, and that's exactly how I took that work experience from McDonald's, and that's exactly how we went from making lip balm with turkey basters, one at a time, to today we'll make 25,000 sticks of lip balm over at Ecolips.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So, do you want to tell them our rock climbing story?
Oh yeah.
Okay, so this was 25 years ago. So you have to look at us through a glass of 25 years ago. Okay, don't judge us today for what we did 25 years ago. But it was fairly significant, and you'll relate to this.
Yep.
My ex-father-in-law, he was a big climber.
Yep.
He had some ropes. My ex-wife had gotten me a harness. We're ready to go. It's my very first time ever. We were gonna climb and rappel, right?
And I had climbed with him quite a few
Where
times
were you?
before that.
Okay.
What's the
Backbone?
No, the park out
Pictured Rocks?
the park out by Monticello.
Oh yeah.
I'm blanking.
Pictured Rocks.
Pictured Rocks.
I think is what it's called now.
Yeah.
Camp Courageous.
Camp Courageous.
Area.
You got it. Yeah.
Okay, so he went to the top.
Okay.
He climbs up and around the top.
Yep.
Throws the rope down, secures it up top, and he yells something down to us. And because I'm a noob, I'm a cherry climber, I didn't know what he said. I just figured he was yelling at me again.
And the two of us are doing what we always do, which is
and
talk like this.
Yeah, so I'm looking at him, he's looking at me, and we're talking, we're jabbing, we're like, I hear, yeah, whatever, yeah. Well, he starts coming down the road.
Yeah.
Well, what he had asked us was,
I know
are
what
the
he asked you.
two
Yeah. What did he ask us, Steve?
Yeah. Are they on the ground?
Are they on the
Yeah.
ground?
Did they hit or something? And
Right.
Yeah.
And I didn't understand what he said, but instead of verifying, what did you say? We just said yeah, and then we went back to talking.
And I remember looking up and saying, "Okay, he's coming,"
Yep.
and then all of a sudden,
And then all of a sudden we hear, wham, boom, and oh, you sons of bitches!
he wrapped off the end of his rope.
Yes, he did.
like 10 feet off the ground.
And thank God it was only that.
Right.
But
So-
that was the absolute
Yep.
fear, and luckily he did not get hurt, but it scared the hell out
Okay.
of him.
Yep.
Scared the hell out of us, and it was a rude
Yeah.
awakening to just how serious.
Yeah.
Even a
Rock
small
solid.
fall
Oh, yeah,
could
sure.
be.
So here's what the trick is to not have that happen. Because we'll do multi-pitch climbs, right? So Devil's Tower out in Wyoming.
Oh, my God.
We'll go climb that, but you have to rappel three or four rappels to get to the bottom. So I mean, you have to rappel down and then find the next rappel station. So you might come down 150 feet on your rope, and then you might have to swing over 20 feet over there, get on a little ledge, and then that's your next rappel station. You undo yourself, put yourself through then go down another 150 feet. But what we do to prevent that,
That's really just the idea of it is scary.
Yeah, it makes my stomach hurt.
what we do to prevent that is we tie a knot on the end of the rope, so that if you get to the bottom of the rope before you get to the ledge that you're supposed to get to, which shouldn't happen but it could, you're at least not going off the end of the rope.
Now,
So he
has
should have done
that
that.
ever happened to you? Have you ever gotten to the knot?
Yep.
You've gotten to the knot and you thought to yourself, did you?
Yeah, I missed the wrap station or something, or it wasn't where the guidebook said or the person told me it was, and then yeah, it's scary.
Do you have to get like an ascender and get back up the rope?
Done that.
Okay.
Yep.
Because we did 120-foot trees in Costa Rica.
Costa Rica.
Oh yeah.
Right.
We used ascenders and climbed up the trees.
Yeah.
That was kind
It's
of
hard
cool.
work, man.
That is
Yeah.
hard work, especially
Yeah.
when you're kind of big fat bastards like Todd and I.
Thanks
Well,
a lot.
we were smaller back then, but it was still hard as hell.
Yeah, it was tough, but it was fun.
Yeah.
And Devil's Tower was someplace we were planning on going
Oh,
with
cool.
his
Back in the day.
but I don't know. Now I don't have the cojones to do
Well,
it.
we're kind of, you know what? There's a lot of things just from talking to you that I'm going to take back. I'm going to go back home. I'm going to look up that E-Myth book.
Yeah.
Because with the podcast, it's grown. It has gone crazy from, we started this last September.
Yeah.
just because Todd has a lot of free time, and he brings his kids over when I have days off. And so our kids are playing, and then we usually have kind of deep conversations about whether it's politics or anything that's going on in the news. And he goes, yeah, we should record these and maybe try a podcast. And then so we started doing that, and then 10 weeks ago we started doing video to possibly bring in different sponsors. So we could have product placement and things like that. And you find yourself very quickly doing exactly what you said, where you're at home thinking, oh, I'm going to do this for fun. And you're 24/7. You work harder. You know, these home-based businesses. Whoever came up with that idea, the selling point is, well, you're at home.
Right.
It's very relaxed.
Right.
You're not really necessarily working under a boss, and you don't have to get dressed and go into the work. But you end up working more hours at home than you ever would have if you went into a business.
That's right. And you might not be quite as efficient because you're at home.
Correct.
I mean, you know, if you have a limited amount of time at an office or at a studio or something, you're going to go in, get your job done, and maybe get out of there. But yeah, it's but I like the phase that you're in, where it's like, because I'll go in different phases too, where I'm like super passionate about some change that I'm making in a company, or like we just bought this, so it's like it's 24/7. I'm doing this, and those you gotta capitalize on the passion part of it, and but the part that most people reach that is the unhealthy part is when you lose the passion for it, and then it's just a job that you happen to be responsible for, and then you're still having to work that much because but you're not enjoying it like you guys are enjoying it right now. You know, that's the vulnerable, dangerous zone.
Well, see, here's what keeps it kind of tasty. Flavorful, like what you would keep it flavorful in the bedroom. You got to change things up.
I'm not going to even hit that subject. Go ahead. What were we going to say?
The spiciness of doing this is that we are meeting different people. Every podcast we do, we're having a different person come in, a guest. Yeah. And recently we went up to Upper Michigan to talk with a demonologist.
And she does like she like blesses houses and gets rid of spirits and stuff.
Talks about her cases.
It was crazy.
She's had
Is that on the air yet? Can we?
Not yet.
Okay,
it'll be in a couple of weeks. Yeah. But she has been on the Discovery Channel's A Haunting, where the show will go out and contact different ghost hunters and different organizations like that and say, hey, do you have any cases where the people wouldn't mind being interviewed and we could kind of redo the haunting, with actors. So she's had a couple of those. She's working on her own show coming up. It's still in the works.
And she's little cute 25-year-old. She's not like you. I mean, I have this picture in my head of a demonologist, like the little lady from Poltergeist.
Right. And so you have to be seasoned. You have to be 60 years old.
Yeah. Right. And she's a really funny, down-to-earth. Yeah, she's a very cool person to meet.
So what is her? You know what her religion is?
You know what we asked her? Are you super religious? And she said no.
Okay.
She goes, I kind of create like a hodgepodge of all these different religions, and I've tried different things. And what she's been actually kind of doing this since she was 11. Yeah. So she's been spiritually connected since she was 11, like seeing seeing things, or she has a great picture of a ghost when she was at summer camp. Yeah. She's got
her house blessings sound pretty. There's a lot of white sage burning. It's kind of like smudging a house, that kind of thing. So she does that.
Cool.
Yeah. And she talks about a lot of it being her intention. You know, what's your intention behind doing something? She's got a super creepy story about. Have you ever heard of a succubus?
No.
It's a demon.
This is a succulent. Is it related to that?
It's a little bit different. It's a little bit different.
Right.
It's a demon that basically molests you. It's a male or a female version of a demon that inappropriately touches you. So it's people like her and yourself, because you don't know what you're going to get on the Primal screen. 1 week it's going to be demonologist, the next week it's going to be entrepreneur of the year. Right. We're talking about
combo, but that's exactly how it happened.
But we're talking about lip balm, and one day we're talking about succubuses.
Do you consider yourself super religious?
Not really.
Well, I mean, you said Buddhist in me earlier, so I wasn't sure.
I guess when I went to Nepal the first time, I hung out with a lot of Buddhists there, and we went to Buddhist temples, and And it really connected with me, the connectedness to the earth. Okay. And I think that what is lacking in modern religion is that connectedness to the earth. Even though the Bible is all about, it's just there's so many passages about and I can't recite any. I'm that distant.
Being
but
like a shepherd of the earth.
Yeah, where we should be
stewards.
The earth.
Stewards.
Yeah. But the earth is the most important thing that we have. We need to nurture it. And I saw this. I saw the Buddhists really connected to the earth, and so. But no, my kids are Catholic. My wife is Catholic. I was raised a Lutheran. And,
are you from Cedar Rapids?
Born in Iowa City, raised in Davenport.
Okay.
So not too distant, And then, but I would, I'm pretty sure that I'm somewhere between agnostic and Buddhist. And I don't know where that lies. And I love people. I love it when people love me. I love the earth. In my mind, the earth is God, and that kills most Christians when I say that.
Yep.
But I worship the earth, man. That's what I worship.
Well, there's a reason why we can't live on the moon. The moon is barren, and if we were to continue our lifestyles and keep polluting the earth, and things start dying off, or we deforest, the Amazon.
Yeah.
And it's going to start looking like...
Yeah.
Have you seen the before and after pictures of Haiti and the Dominican Republic? Do you remember the movie Serpent and the Rainbow?
No.
Okay. It was a movie back in the late 70s, maybe early 80s. I'm trying to think of the main act. The main actor that was in it is he's from Independence Day. Who was the president? The Will Smith Independence Day?
Oh, yeah. I know who you're talking about. Bill something.
Not Bill Paxton.
Pullman?
Bill Pullman.
Okay.
Bill Pullman, I think. He was the main character in this Serpent and the Rainbow. Well, he goes down to Haiti, and he basically he gets involved with voodoo in some way or another, and he actually gets turned into a zombie. Anyway, in that movie...
Jesus, I was like, where's this going?
Well, I'm getting there.
All right,
I'm going to bring it back full circle. Just
all
relax.
Right, awesome.
In that movie, it's filmed in Port-au-Prince, Haiti, and at the time it was a triple canopy rainforest. Mm-hmm. But because of the practices of Papa Doc and Baby Doc, who ran that country, they deforested the whole country to where the topsoil literally ran off into the ocean and killed all the coral around the island. And there's a distinct line. If you go on Google and you look at an image of the Dominican Republic and Haiti, which is all one island, there's a distinct line where the Dominican Republic starts, because at that point it's a triple canopy rainforest.
Wow. Holy cow.
Wow.
And
everything
else is barren. They can only grow like sugarcane.
I saw that in Madagascar. Madagascar, you think of the Disney movie and like all this wildlife everywhere, and biodiversity like crazy. And deforestation, it's such a vulnerable country that it has been just massively deforested. And you could come in there with money and pull up a ship and hire a bunch of people and just take trees. And the people are kind of happy because they sold some trees, but it happened over and over and over. And now you come across these huge cavernous ravines of just dirt and nothing will... of holes. Sorry, in no trees, no life. I was there a couple days before I saw a single bird. They're planting eucalyptus trees in these areas just to hold the soil together, but there's not much that can really grow with it in the eucalyptus tree environment. So it's kind of like a quick fix. So in addition to that, because they've lost so much land to erosion, they went from, and population is increasing. They went from, just in the last few years, from exporting rice to now importing rice. So it used to be a sustainable island. It was the 8th continent, kind of thing, where it's like this place will be fine. But now you have these people that are making no money, or less than a couple dollars a day if they have any income at all. They're trying to live off the land but can't anymore, and now they have to buy rice, which they, for the last 1,000 years, have been able to grow themselves. So there will be a massive problem around in a lot of places around the world. Other parts of Africa are experiencing this land grab where China's going in and people from the United States are going in and just buying up lots of land to farm, and there are people starving all around the perimeter of these farms, and these farms are producing vegetables that are being trucked out and flown out to countries like ours. And so it's such a broken system,
and it's so detached, like you said. It's just so detached, and it goes back to, I think you and I were talking where I said that I read something that said that global warming is going to cost us so much money by some certain thing, and you got all pissed because you're like, why do we?
I do sometimes. I get a little passionate.
Why do we keep making everything monetary? Why are we not saying?
Yeah.
Well, wait a second. It has nothing to do with money. How about us? How about everybody on the planet? Why is that not a big deal? We're not going to be able to be here and survive if we keep doing this. Who gives a shit about the money part of it?
We have to start making decisions because it's the right decision to make, instead of this is how many pennies I can squeeze out of the consumer, which coincides almost directly with what we had talked about earlier with your lip balm in the recyclable container, and the fact that you are still pushing through that, where if you're one of those huge corporations, those CEOs, those shareholders are saying, hey, where's my money? That's the bottom line. And either we need to cut jobs or we need to do this because I'm going to get my profit
at whatever expense. And
I love the fact that you're taking a completely different avenue of a business model and still being successul and being an entrepreneur.
We're not growing as fast as we could. We're not making as much money as we could, but we're making the right kind of impact. I mean, every one of us has a negative impact in the environment. Businesses create waste, and there are very few things other than plants that create a positive impact. But we try to just minimize our impact. I look at us as a small footprint manufacturer. We do as much in the smallest amount of space as possible. We have a small product, So, and it's happening more and more. There are more companies, and what it's going to take is a shift in consumer behavior, and a shift in more of the corporate goals of the big box stores, the Walmarts of the world. They really have a lot of power now. And a tiny little tweak, if they set a quota of having more environmentally friendly products, next year than they do this year, it's gonna put pressure on other companies to either innovate or create companies that can deliver the goods.
Well, that drive of we're going to give a good product when it comes to the internal part of your lip balms themselves. This is what we're going to do. This is our niche. We're organic. We're going to stick with this as you have been. So to me, the idea of switching over to the paper, less, rugged lip balm container, this is what we're going to do. We're going to switch over to this. It's just a natural transition to keep doing, and people are going to follow. I mean, you found the niche for the organic ingredients in your lip balm. The idea that people can adjust to having a container, it's just a natural progression.
Back in 1992 or 3, Yvon Chouinard, who's the founder of Patagonia, which is a outdoor clothing brand, he did that they were doing a lot of cotton products, and he visited some manufacturers, and he realized that how unhealthy the workers were in the cotton fields, and how many toxic chemicals it took to grow and process cotton. And he made the shift to organic cotton. I was working at Active Endeavors at the time, and we had gotten, at the time, organic cotton was like cheesecloth. Nobody had been able to really create a hand on the fabric that was comfortable. And he pushed that to where one year he said, every cotton product that we are going to sell this year is going to be organic cotton. And us as retailers went, whoa, it's not going to be as good as their previous product. Well, we were right. It wasn't. And it took them a few years to really improve the quality. And now, but they stuck with it. He went out on a limb and did it. It really it took a lot for that company financially and marketing wise to get through that. But they did, and now the products that are made with organic cotton are even better than conventional cotton. And so Patagonia spearheaded that, just like they did with the PCR fleece. They could have. They worked with Malden Mills, post-consumer recycled 2-liter bottles and pop bottles, and they figured out how to make that into a fleece product. And rather than hold that intellectual property, they shared it so that more people could use this technology, which is better for the environment. And we're doing that with our paper too. We're not just saying, hey, this is just something that Ecolips can have. We're offering it up to other manufacturers, and so we have some discussions right now to try to either do filling or supplying of the paper tubes.
Does the plastic clap with the carabiner on it? Does that fit on the paper ones yet?
No, it doesn't.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because that is a really neat little.
That's the one that sticks in my head for
It's
Ecolips.
not in my pocket.
Little
it's just
carabiner
right
clip.
there.
Yeah.
Is that from your rock climbing days?
That oh man, that was an invention in let's see, 3 a.m, Los Angeles. After about 13 martinis, Jim and I were in his house sitting around like this, and we're just like, yeah, Ecolips, we're gonna take over the world, and we're making sketches of what our semis are gonna look like someday, and then we got into serious discussion. We're like, all right, we need to get our sales reps better tools for selling, and he had a couple of components on his countertop was messy, like a bachelor's would be, and I grabbed a carabiner, and I'm actually, he wasn't a bachelor at the time, but it was still messy, and I grabbed a carabiner and a plastic overcap, and I'm not sure what it was for. And I hooked on a couple lip balm on this carabiner, and I was like, what if we gave our sales rep, kind of like when somebody's selling wallpaper or fabric and they have swatch books and they flip through like swatches. I was like, what if our lip balm was like a swatch book, and we have the mint, and we have the berry, and we have the sport, and we have the this, and then after looking at that, we're like, holy shit, we should just sell this. Hey, Chloe, hey, this is
the star of the commercial. That's right.
This is my daughter, Chloe. Yeah, she's in
Chloe.
I'm Todd. Nice to meet you.
Yeah, so we've been doing this podcast and talking about a lot of interesting stuff.
And how old are you?
11.
You're 11 years old. Natural actress. You did an amazingly great job. I have a daughter who's 10. And I thought you did an amazing job in that commercial. I've watched it maybe 5 times.
Thank you.
Because I thought it was really funny, and I thought you did an amazing job. I was just so surprised at just how great of a job you did, because I just kept thinking, would my daughter be able to rattle this stuff off?
No.
Thank you.
Maybe not. But yeah, you did a great job.
Did you enjoy it?
Not really.
Yeah.
How long did it take you to do all that?
400 hours.
400 hours.
It was a lot of takes. It was challenging, and it was her first real on-camera experience, and so she's getting better at it. Yeah.
That's awesome.
You sold it well.
Yeah.
I loved it. And I'm going to do some of my lip balm. I'm going to do some of my own little flavors.
Cool.
I'm going to try some combinations because I like that commercial so much.
When Yahoo got a hold of her and interviewed her about that video that we put up, and they said, so if we wanted to, if you wanted to put you in touch with Ellen or Oprah, would you be interested in that? And she's like, well, I don't really know who Oprah is, but I'd love to meet Ellen. So it's kind of funny.
That's awesome. Yeah. Are you going to be on Ellen?
I don't know where
I love her.
That's awesome. Ellen's the best.
I don't really know where that's going to go, but yeah, it's kind of
That's cool.
So,
Well, hey, I wanted to ask about Andrea.
Yeah.
She just walked in. I've been trying to work this in because we haven't brought her up.
Right.
But she is kind of this. She created the first with the whole with the pot, and she inspired this whole creation and us talking about a better environment and being more organic and all of this stuff.
The story goes, that I fell in love with her and her lip balm recipe all at the same time.
Here she is.
Yes, and the love is still so strong. Yep. So, so Andrea had a recipe that she never really wrote it down. It was like peppermint oil, virgin olive oil, some beeswax, and it'd make your lips tingle.
Yeah.
Great for kissing and that kind of stuff.
Sweet.
Yep. And
locked you into the relationship early.
That's right.
Yep. And then I think I told her at one time, like, we should start selling this, And then just like, okay,
So do you still get involved with all the different flavors? Do you look at the ingredients, or how involved are you now? I mean, you kind of started this with this.
I did.
With
I
your
was
recipe.
Very involved for the first 10 years. And then we were pregnant with our third child, and I decided I need to step out. So I did. And then I recently came back, more in the financial end. And then we bought Brewhemia, this place.
We go in entrepreneurial spurts.
Yes.
Nice.
And so I have once again removed myself from Ecolips, and I'm doing this more full time.
Yeah.
Well, I really dig your guys' whole the work ethic, the drive, all your different times that you take a chance with something new.
The family
family
stuff was
aspect.
great.
It's you're really a great role model for, and I hate to put that type of burden on
we
you guys'
try
shoulders.
hard. But yeah,
But it's a really cool
if
role
they could
model
only
for other
see
people.
what it's like when we close the door at night. Like,
Well, that's anybody's house, though.
Well, hey,
Yeah.
you have all those different businesses,
Yeah.
and you mountaineer every now and then. You travel all the time. You're coming up with different recipes for the Ecolips, and you can also have time to grow a garden. So there's no excuse for anybody at home to say, I don't have time for a garden, because if you're just working one job, and you're like most of us, you have tons of time.
and she's got
Because Steve can do it.
She also has a photography business, does some amazing photography. So she was part of that whole 4-year stint where I was traveling to all those farms around the world, meeting the growers. She did a lot of the photography for those. So she has some.
Do you have a studio or anything?
I don't. I do mostly on location work.
Oh, cool.
So I have access to studios around town if that type of job comes up, but I prefer to do location work.
Cool. I'm sorry, the Ecolips probably has a corner somewhere you could have a little studio.
You know what? I pushed for that several times, and it's never.
Hey, if anybody can make it happen, this guy could probably make it happen.
Why hasn't it happened yet?
We'll edit this part out. Don't worry about it.
What's up on your list here next?
Well, what's next is we probably got to cut this short because you have a bike ride that you're
Company
going
bike
on.
ride, that's right. That's right.
Company bike ride.
Yep.
Where are you guys going?
I think we're going to Ely and back today because Ragbry's coming up here. Mm-hmm. And Ragbry's coming up, so we're getting some miles in as a company. And then
And you have an Ecolips team?
yes, Ecolips, Trees Forever, and actually Lyon Bridge, I Renew.
Shannon Ramsey, she's like a second mother. I met her when I was 8, and she's taken care of me ever since.
And she is my ex-mother-in-law.
No way.
Yes, and
Wow.
her second husband, Rod,
Okay.
is the man that we let fall.
Great.
There's our
we're
connection.
basically brothers.
Somehow we're related.
So Ecolips, Trees Forever, Lyon Bridge, I Renew, and Kimberly Dickey Design have a team, and we are gonna make our way across Iowa on bikes next week.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I've done it once. It was incredible. I haven't had a chance to get back to it, but
Awesome.
So if there's a couple of supplies that you absolutely have to have on Ragbri, one would be water, one would be sunblock, and another probably should be Ecolips.
Yes. Yes.
that's right.
Because you don't want
right.
your lips to be all chafed and
Do you
dehydrated.
is your crew made up of like these hardcore cyclists and then some that are more casual and then some that are
Yeah, it's a mix. It's a mix. I'd say more on the casual side than the hardcore.
Okay.
So it's totally just very. I think we're looking at it like very pedestrian. We just do what we can, no pressure.
I rode with the Dirty Martini crew a few years ago, and they're still good friends. And we all started out together, and I just thought this is going to be the most wonderful thing ever. And then a mile later, I was like, where did everybody go? And they all just took off on a line, racing by everybody. It's like, holy mackerel.
I think it's okay. Like, we're not even saying, hey, we need to ride together all the time. There are a couple times we want to meet up, but really low pressure, and we should all just enjoy it how we can, as much as we can.
I don't know if I didn't do it right, because every night I couldn't sleep because it was like 98 degrees and I was in my tent and I couldn't get enough sleep.
Right.
And everybody's
What,
they
2
want to
years
drink
ago?
all night long, and I'm like, I can't do that at all. Like, if I don't get enough sleep, I'm grumpy, let alone hungover and tired. That's not going to work very well either. But I did go to the Templeton distillery.
Cool.
That was pretty awesome.
I bet.
It was very neat.
All right, we gotta let these guys
Okay,
go.
all right.
Yeah.
Was there something else
Do-
you wanted to
no,
say?
that was
Steve?
it.
Should we just? Do I just like throw the mic down and walk out?
Yeah,
You
drop
just
it like
kind of
it's
do
hot.
this crucifixion type thing, and you, and then you yell "sexual chocolate," and then you just walk off the stage. That's how you do. Hey, well, thank you very much
Yeah,
for being with
thank
us
you.
today. I'm Matt.
I am Todd.
And
I'm
we'll
Steve.
see- and we'll see you
I'm
later.
Andrea.
Adios.
Thank you, Andrea. Good night.
Yeah, you know what?